but that song is just hitting on a different level. Is that just me, or what do you think? Are you feeling the energy today, or something in the
I
air
love
maybe?
it. I do think that we need to adjust two things. One is that instead of 60 seconds, it should be just half a minute. And the other one, it should have a sort of like QR code for the shipyard, such that if you're
Mhm.
watching this and you're with your phone, you can just scan it and join the shipyard community while you wait and explore our ecosystem. We need to do better, by the way, showing our ecosystem. We're going to talk about that later. But
Mm,
today is I would call it a sort of emergency episode. It was not the thing that we had like planned in general. Talk about
no.
security. It is not something that we are experts in any level. However, there is right now a bunch of hacks. Let's just put it as simple as a bunch of hacks that are not minor and that people are not paying attention what it all means. So today we're going to discuss that. We're going to show you an app that we built so that you can utilize it to make your app more secure. We're probably going to give this away for free. It's going to be probably one of our last gifts to the open community, right? The rest is going to be mostly focused on the shipyard community. But yeah, it was a long answer. Sorry for that, Trav. How are you doing?
Man, you can give long answers all day, every day, my friend. Yeah, no, it's the craziest thing about this last week, especially, is that, man, from doing research into like digging into these stories that, of course, we're going to present to you guys here in a few minutes, a lot of my AI fears are coming true. And that's terrifying. It's really, I'm laughing because I'm coping. It's copium at its finest here. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I feel you. I'm a very rational person. I'm not particularly scared about like anything. I do understand that AI, if we don't get it right, it can pose a threat to humanity. And as such, I do expect that people that are responsible of developing these systems, they are trying really their best. I don't think the incentives are built for us to be fully safe at all. The incentives are for making money as usual, and that can be catastrophic. But right now, we do have something to address, which is like, okay, we're builders, we're content creators. How do we make the most out of this situation, considering what we already have, which is we have very powerful LLMs at our disposal to try to defend ourselves. Because in the end, what we're going to be exploring today is what are the types of AI attacks? What is data telling us in relation to this? What is hype? What is sign? And we want to ensure that you guys that are that in the same way that we ourselves are up on our against any potential threat, are of course multiplying during these past few days.
Exactly. So one thing I want to highlight, and then we'll carry this conversation forward here, is you mentioned at the like as you first started answering my initial question on the stream that we're not experts in security. But one thing that I'd like our audience to know is when it comes to research and when it comes to deep dives and when it comes to learning, my man Quantic here, he is the master at that. PhD holder and just absolute wizard when it comes to diving deep and learning new skills here. So, in saying that, very, very excited to introduce to you guys this new security app that Quantic put together here is legit. So, before diving into these top stories here, Quantic, shall we deliver this newsletter update? I know we've had a
Yes,
couple
I
of
think
DMs here about the newsletter.
yes, like people were asking about the newsletter. It seems that a lot of creators out there, they are thinking about how to do this in an effective and simple way. We have discussed about how to use agents and blah blah blah. And we have seen that, you know what, you can keep it simple and still make it work. So please let us know, Trav, where are you at? For context, for the people that are just watching today, like tuning in for the first time or whatever, we have a newsletter. It is called Growth Bites. We run it for about 6 months or perhaps a year. Then we drop it, mostly because we had a lot of other workload and we couldn't handle. And then when we tried to automate that using very modern AI stacks at that time, it was just a pain in the ass. Let me be honest with you. But it seems that now Trav has a solution, and the stack for now for us is like we're just using Beehive for our newsletter because it's what everybody uses when it comes to setting up a newsletter that will potentially be monetized.
Yes. So, giving you guys the full transparent update here for a couple reasons, like Quantic said, is one is if you guys, or for all of you guys who have been chatting with us, who are interested in automating your own newsletter, starting your own newsletter, we can give you guys the inside scoop because now we've officially, are working on that ourselves. And then for our subscribers as well. This is so you guys know what to expect here, and so we can be open and honest with you. So the goal was to fully automate our newsletter production using Claude Code actually, and Beehive. So the plan was to basically create a markdown file. One thing is I have officially used the Claude console for the first time. I bought credits and I ran a bunch of programs and feeling pretty cool here. I made my first JSON file, an env file, markdown files, all that fun stuff here. So really feeling the vibe coding vibes. There we go. That was fun. And the goal was to so Beehive has an API that you can then load up into Claude here, so which will allow you to fully automate the creation of the newsletter, and then Claude Code would be able to actually create the newsletter on Beehive and then publish it for you. However, that's where we encountered our first hurdle. So in order to unlock basically the full functionality of the API key from Beehive, you have to pay at least $50 a month as a subscription. And that's only up until 1,000 subscribers. We have about 250 subscribers actually. So shout out to all of you guys who have subscribed. Really looking forward to getting this going again. But then after you hit 1,000, price goes up incrementally every 1,000 followers up until infinity. So it's expensive. And having only 250 subscribers right now, it doesn't make sense for us to really start paying for that. So all that to say is we still are planning on semi-automating the newsletter here. The plan is to use the markdown file, use Claude Code to actually create the newsletter for us, put it as publish it as an HTML file, and then basically copy and paste it onto Beehive itself, which I have tried, and it is relatively easy. Should take me about 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes, depending on the issue and on all the things I want to put on it. So it's not fully automated, but it's pretty freaking close. Also,
Okay.
I did have to do some tweaking to the actual markdown file as well, because at first it was a little bit long. Some of the names were incorrect, so I had to adjust some of the spelling prompts and stuff like that here. But it was actually pretty straightforward to create that the contextual markdown file essentially so that it
Yeah,
knows
it is a
what to
markdown
publish
file.
every week.
At the end
Yes.
of the day, automation and blah blah blah. We're using just a markdown file and some commands on the terminal that is not even run by us. It's like cloud how building in this 2026 looks like. But still, it brings fully automated free on this particular situation. So let's do the following thing, Trav. Let me know what I want you to prepare to like share your screen with like the markdown file, like your project setup, whatever you have, so that people have some context, and also Beehive, the Beehive platform, so that they know how to actually look like, right? We have people that are, who they want to watch the content not all from us. So while you prepare that, my approach would be let's discuss just at a high level what you have that people replace Beehive, right? Because Beehive is an interface for you to create your newsletter, handle your emails. It can sound complicated and whatnot, but we don't know if we can vibe code something that would serve our specific needs, right? Because essentially the newsletter something that we're trying to grow along the way. It is not the main thing, but it's another way in which we can distribute our products, our work with the ship, the ship token, our work essentially, perhaps at the point we get to the point which we get sponsored. However, that's not our primary goal. And if the main thing that, Beehive is providing for us is like the formatting and all that, then perhaps we can replace it, right? I am not sure. So let's figure that out.
Yeah, definitely. So I'll share the pros and cons about Beehive. Actually, there's a couple of variables that are kind of leaning me towards wanting to keep it here. And maybe I'll pull up the screen while we're talking about this here. So share my screen, growth bites, Beehive. So here's kind of the dashboard for Beehive here. You can see we have 232 active subscribers, which is pretty great. We have zero growth over the last month, obviously, because we have not been publishing. Essentially, what kind of the pros of Beehive are. So here are all of our previous newsletters, by the way. Let's see here. What was I trying to say here? So here we go, Boost. Let's go to Boost. So essentially, the cool thing about Beehive, there's a couple things. First of all, we talked about the monetization here, and basically it shows you all of these different baked in opportunities that exist on Beehive where you get paid for every time one of your subscribers clicks on a link and I believe actually follows through with subscribing to these other subscribers. So for every subscriber that you get for example, this Porter's Daily Journal, you'll get $4.40, which is pretty significant actually, if you ask me. So that's one of them.
But
The
okay,
other
let
one
me just
is
clarify that part. What does that mean? Like per subscribe, if you apply there, what does it happen? They give you a link, and if people click, then you get the money, or they have to purchase something, or
I
just
believe they
subscribe.
just have to subscribe. Yeah, just to subscribe to these other
Wow.
newsletters here. So the idea is you want to find ones that would be relatable to your audience here, and then you apply to try and be able to push these other newsletters. And if you are successful, there'll be a link and a small summary at at some point on your newsletter here. And then every time that somebody subscribes to this newsletter, then you will get, for example, this one here, $6.40, which is pretty cool. It's pretty cool. Is also the ad network as well, which is a whole other thing here. These are just like you get paid per clicks. So you can add ads to your newsletter here as well, which is actually not insignificant. So you get, for example, this one here for harmonic security, you get $1.35 click. And notice that's just per click, not necessarily per subscription to Harmonic, not any purchases made to Harmonic per click. So like that's being able to like once we would have to pay for the scale plan, of course, which is $49 a month, up till 1,000 subscribers. But it could be worth it, especially knowing that we have an active audience as well here. So
Yeah.
just things to keep in mind. The last thing that I'll share with you is it does come with another website. So we have a Bites website and a second Growth Bites or another Web3 Matters Growth Bites website. Are you able to see this right now? Probably not, eh?
If
But
you come to a
here,
new tab or new window, I'm not able to see it.
gotcha. Let's pull that up real quick. So we can completely customize this, make it a lot cooler here. But these are essentially all of our previous whatchamacallit, newsletter articles here that we've had. Just another landing page for people to go that I believe Beehive itself steers a lot of the audience to. We also have links to all of our other socials here as well. It's been probably about 2 years since I've really updated this. And it looks like the capabilities and the customizability has increased dramatically. So that is like, it's definitely something to consider. The last thing that I will show you is this here, and this is, I think, very relevant to us, is podcasts. So I'm halfway through figuring this out now, but you can actually publish podcasts on your, I believe it's your landing page here. And this has a direct correlation with Riverside as well. So I'm working from the Riverside end where I create an RSS link and then essentially it'll take our audio from every live stream that we publish on Beehive and automatically publish it, or sorry, on Riverside and automatically publish it as a podcast on Beehive. And then I can also publish it to Spotify as well. So definitely things to consider. And this is all, I believe, at least this here, the podcasts. I don't believe we have to have a subscription. So far, everything seems to be going smoothly. There might
Yeah, but
be, it
I
might
mean
be blocked.
to be clear, Trav, here, most of the cool functionalities, it does seems that it requires for you to start paying the $50 subscription a month. Am I correct on that?
Yeah. So far, yes.
Okay.
Like the website builder, I could probably push a little bit further, make it look a little bit cooler, but probably not to its, definitely not to its full capacity.
Yeah. So perhaps what we should do as creators and to teach our audience is do the experiment at some point of, let's assume that we get to 300 subscribers so that we activate the newsletter again. And then from there, we can activate this plan and see if you can actually monetize anything. Because one of the things that I've heard from other creators is that Beehive in the past or now they are very focused on helping creators make money regardless of their size. And you know what? Everybody's promising the same. I haven't seen any results personally, like nothing big. But if there is any way to get something out of it, I think it would make sense for us because we can teach that to the rest of our audience here.
I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more. And I think that's a really good idea. And I'm maybe to you guys, to our audience here right now, if that's something you guys are interested in learning more about, if you've ever had the thought or the inspiration, or if you do now to start your own newsletter on Beehive, let us know what you guys think. And regardless, we'll do this. So, but if there's anything you want to see us do specifically, let us know. We'll make it happen. And yeah, of course, building in public as usual.
Yeah, as usual. And
Great.
speaking of that, so that we wrap it up and move forward into the next topic, which is AI security, when are we expecting to have the next newsletter live?
Perfect. Glad you asked. So by Monday at the latest, hopefully this weekend. So
Oh.
that is the goal. That is the
Okay.
goal.
Okay, so looking forward to this, Trav. If you can, or let's ask our intern as well, if you can post about it on the comment section somewhere or whatever, so that people are aware where to subscribe to Growth Bytes and that we're retaking this effort now with the help of AI. And it's essentially what we're going to be doing is taking the material that we're already producing during these live streams and bring it back in a way that is digestible for readers, but also with interesting news and tools that you can actually utilize. So it has a value added to it.
100%. 100%. Yeah. Very excited. I know I actually have, this is a newsletter. I'm running it as a newsletter that I would read. Mhm. So at the
Exactly.
very least, if we get no subscribers, if we get no monetization, I will be very happy to open my inbox every single morning and read this newsletter. So that's that. I will also just show our audience here how to access our newsletter real quick, taking up only 30 seconds here. So if you go, the easiest way is go to our X account, web3 underscore matters here on X. Head over to our link tree all the way at the bottom, which you guys cannot see now here, but let me pull that up. Is Here's our link tree. All the way at the bottom is our subscribe to Growth Bites. And you just click on that and enter your email, and you are good to go. So super easy, super seamless. And yeah, with that, shall we get to these juicy news stories here? These
Let's do
crazy
it.
AI hacks. Perfect,
Let's do it,
perfect. So
guys.
let's
We're gonna see part of this data, and it's gonna be crazy. I have prepared also a report with the help, of course, of AI on how things are looking from the point of view of an analyst that wants to just focus on the data and see what is really happening with AI and security and what to do.
okay, I think I lost you, but are you back with me there, Quantic? I think I may have lost you there for a sec.
I'm back. I was just saying that let's go over the news first, and then I will share a report that I have created as well.
Perfect. Excellent. So let's talk about story number one here. This is an interesting title. This is the Claude Capybara leak, where $14.5 billion, I said that right. You heard that right. $14.5 billion was vaporized. So
Wow.
Anthropic had an experimental model internally codenamed Claude Capybara. Say it was capable enough that the company was actively cautious about public release because it was too easy to weaponize for low cost cyber attacks. It leaked onto the open internet. The market reaction was immediate, first of all. Cybersecurity stocks shed $14.5 billion in market cap in a single trading day. And if you think about why, investors weren't reacting to the hack itself, they were reacting to the availability of a weapon. And the thesis is the entire cybersecurity industry has been selling that AI lets defenders move faster than attackers. And this flipped overnight. So,
Exactly.
because if a frontier model is in the wild, the cost of launching a sophisticated, persistent AI driven campaign just collapsed to roughly zero. And the people who price risk for a living read that instantly. Quantic, what do you think?
Yeah, it's crazy, man. I think that we are gonna have a massive issue in terms of security, probably at a national level, before we really wake up as a society, right? Because right now it's happening with a lot of these big companies, and it doesn't seem like anything is progressing other than, you know what, we're not even going to let you as users try some of these models because they are very powerful, but you already have enough evidence to see that that's not going to be the case. And honestly, you also have this model called Kimi, whatever, that is one of those models that you can run locally, is the most powerful one, comparable to Opus or Sonnet or whatever. And we don't know who is using this for cyber threats, and what are the reports back from these latest models that anyone can run locally, right? We just don't know that, but we are seeing a bunch of more hacks happening. So you have to ask yourself, what is really happening here? So let's continue here with the news. Perhaps you want to share your screen as well so that people can read along the news headlines. I don't know if that would be helpful or not.
Let's see here. I'll see if I could find. Actually, I don't have the headlines themselves pulled up, just kind of my research document here. But let's see. Let's see if we can find this. That's actually a really good idea.
No, but I think,
Here we
I mean,
go. Pulling it up. Here we go. Here's our next one. Here we go. I am failing hard. So here's the next one here. This is the Vercel. Where'd my computer go? Vercel context AI supply chain hack. Are you able to see my screen here?
yes.
Perfect. Perfect. So let's get into it. So, story number two, Vercel, the cloud platform hosting a meaningful chunk of the modern web, including Next.js apps, got breached. The entry point was a single employee installed a small AI productivity tool called Context AI and connected it to their corporate Google Workspace account via OAuth. So here's the chain. Back in February, that Context AI employee got infected with Luma Stealer, apparently from downloading Roblox auto farm scripts on their work device. Yeah, really. The attacker harvested Google Workspace credentials, Supaspace keys, Datadog access, apparently the whole stack. They used the OAuth token to pivot into Vercel's Google Workspace and then into Vercel's internal environment, where they enumerated and decrypted environment variables and walked out with customer credentials. So, Shiny Hunters listed the data for $2 million on a cybercrime forum. Hundreds of orgs are potentially downstream because Context AI's OAuth app touched their tenants as well. And so the lesson here is brutal and simple. Every AI tool you OAuth into your stack inherits the permissions of the human who clicked allow. One careless integration in your supply chain is your supply chain compromise. What do you think about that? I got shivers down my spine.
Yeah, I think this is terrible because OAuth type of integrations is the most, is the main thing that everybody's gonna do, and it makes sense to do it, and it's widely spread. So you're telling me that basic operations that developer have to perform, they now have to be aware that there are dependencies external to them that can get their users and themselves into hacks essentially and leaks, right? So, this is a wake up call for the entire software industry that you should really take into account all external dependencies downstream and all potential things that are actually involved in things that are, let's say, external or not directly tied it to your app itself, right? Of course, when you do this, you're connecting with other credentials. So there is an external dependency, but you know, it's just terrible. I don't have anything else to say.
Yeah, no, it's straight up here. So before I jump into number three here, guys, I just want to say every AI tool you OAuth into your stack, it inherits the permissions of whoever clicked allow. I just want to emphasize that. And that's your supply chain now. So just be very, very careful out there. And we're going to get into, of course, our security recommendations after these stories here. Before I jump into story number three, I will send a call to action to our audience right now. We have almost 50 people watching us. So thank you guys for being here. Thank you for being a part of this conversation. We want to get these messages to as many people as possible. So if you can take a moment and engage with this live stream, that would be awesome. This is a really important topic. We want to help as many people as you possibly can because things are getting real. So, story number three, Quantic, you ready?
Ready? Let's do it.
All right. So let me pull up my screen here. This one has to do with Meta. So Meta is making the news again. Fun times. So Meta's AI agent leaked its own company's data. So story number three. There's no external attacker, no phishing email, no malware, an internal AI agent at Meta running in their production environment, orchestrating internal workflows, hallucinated the wrong permission scopes when it was responding to an employee query. It surfaced sensitive internal data to employees who were not supposed to see it. The exposure window is about 40 minutes before internal monitoring triggered a review and the agent was suspended. So, this is a brand new category of breach. I will start by saying that. The failure wasn't compromise, it was confidence. So, the agent had been granted a wide permission scope to do its job. And when it got the reasoning wrong, that wide permission scope turned a model error into a data exposure event. Lastly, here, industry data backs this up. So IBM's reporting that 88% of organizations had confirmed or suspected AI agent security incident in the last year. 88%. But here's the kicker. Only 14% of agent deployments actually went through any kind of security approval process. So this most companies are deploying agents with full human level access and zero oversight. And the math is going to keep getting worse. Quantic, are you as perturbed as I am?
Yeah, I think this is great in the sense that this is the point that I wanted to make, which is try and do it yourself for your own organization. Try and deploy an agentic, useful agentic framework or flow that is completely safe and with all the guardrails. It's next to impossible. It is very, very hard right now. You have to be very technical and you have to know what are the things that you should anticipate from the point of view of a security threat before anything happens. And that's, only people that have this specialized knowledge are going to be capable of doing, if anything. And we also have a lot of people that are specialists on this, which, they just cannot anticipate everything, right? And with AI getting better, and social engineering getting more sophisticated, there is just a point in which there is nothing you can do about, right? So, okay, the good news from our end is that we have at least one simple tool that we can share with you so that you apply this to your own project so that at least you have some basic security checks, such as the ones that we are sharing here during this news review. And are going to be able to do this for free provided that you can share your GitHub repo. This is something that we're going to be discussing within the next couple of minutes. But before doing that, Trav, I wanted to circle back with you and hear, like, what is your perspective as a user? And, from the point of view of being a builder on our shipyard ecosystem, we're dealing with tokens, we're dealing with mini apps. So we're dealing with a lot of software now that we were not dealing with within the past few years, right? Because, we were mostly focused on media and education, and now we have this very important software component.
100%. I'm feeling two things. One, very ignorant. Realize I have never, well, that's not entirely true. I realize I have not been taking security into consideration anywhere near as much as I need to, especially considering we are planning on scaling. And I absolutely want to respect and protect any sensitive data that we have in terms of our own personal data, in terms of our community's data. That has to take priority, and we have to make sure that it's absolutely bulletproof. And reading about all the things that can go wrong now is very sobering. It's very, very sobering. And we absolutely need to, prioritize this. That leads me to my second feeling that I'm having right now is gratitude. The fact that, we are talking about this right now before we get to the point where we potentially can have these breaches of security. The fact that you are building as we speak a tool to help optimize security and get it to that level where we can feel confident about scaling and moving forward this is serendipitous. I'm very, very glad that we are having this conversation right now, and we are equipping ourselves with the means that we need to make this as safe as absolutely possible here. So, yeah, how about you?
The feeling is mutual, Trav. I'm grateful as well that we are in a position in which we can work these problems on our own. I've been honest on social media saying that couple of things that I wanted to roll out, I had to take a step back and go deeper into the security aspects before releasing anything. And today, and this is the important part for you, I want to share a tool that anyone can use to do a basic security checkup that actually takes into account all of these little subtleties that we mentioned, right? In terms of like
Hmm.
all the things that can go wrong. That's the main thing, right? This is not about only the security of the code itself, but also like the logic, the architecture of your system, and other potential threats. And so let's perhaps dive into that. You would be fine if I just go ahead and share my screen.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. We do have two more stories, but yeah, I propose let's hold on to those. These ones are pretty wild. One of them has to do with crypto, one of them has to do with like international compromise. So if we have enough time near the end of this conversation, I propose we can end off our conversation with well, maybe not end off because we want to end it off on a positive note here, but we can get back to that if we have the time afterwards. But yes, let's definitely let's not keep our audience waiting any longer. Let's get to the meat and potatoes of this conversation, which is how you guys can protect yourselves in a world where AI hacks are getting out of control here. So take it away there, Kwanzi.
Right. So what you're seeing on the screen right now is a tool that we have created for ourselves that we're using internally to ensure that any code that we are shipping to production and that users will interact in any way, even if it doesn't handle any money, is as safe as possible, considering a very wide variety of potential attacks that are coming during these last few days. So we actually took how we created this app is like we created through a very large prompt essentially, which is we started by asking what are the most common security threats that are often overlooked in software development. Okay, it gave us a list. Now I asked expand this to make it very exhaustive and cover all potential cases that you might find if you're a vibe coder, and it added another set of things to the list. And then I continually ask about considering other potential risk vectors, such as, the architecture of the system, connection with external tools, and so on and so forth. And by the end, I did have a very long list of potential things that can go wrong. And I said, hey, you know what? I'm going to be sharing with you the GitHub repos that I will be utilizing before shipping anything to production so that you can do a quick security check for me. Of course, at this stage, this is created for public repositories. This is not a production ready solution because it needs to be able to do this with private repos as well, right? Because Trav, I'm creating my own apps. Some of them are open source, but most of them are for me to handle, right? I don't want to share that information with the rest of the world. Does that make sense to you?
That does make sense. That does make sense. So before making this like publicly available, you want to make sure that it can also audit essentially the private GitHub repos. Am I understanding that right? Is that does that about summarize that?
Yeah, that's correct. And also because if I want to ask people to, use this tool for their private repos, I will need to ask for their credentials, not for
Mm,
myself, of course. But
yes.
you know what happened with asking from external parties this OAuth thing that you mentioned. This can be an issue, another security issue, right? And we don't
Yes.
want to introduce anything yet. So we're gonna probably do a soft release, free and open for everyone in the community to utilize this, but it's only going to be meaningful for public repos, right? If you want to do it with a private repo that you are working on as a vibe coder, probably we will have a premium version that is going to be a little bit more sophisticated.
Okay. Okay. So what do you think it's going to take to be able to get to that point where it can safely you can safely ask users to provide their credentials for GitHub and, keep them assured that it will be safe and there won't be any compromise?
So the answer is I don't know because I haven't
Mhm,
studied what are the things left. I focus fully on this open source completion project
mhm.
that we can, say that we have this ready and that people can use it. So probably by next week, people will be able to interact with this app. It's going to be powered by Ship as always. And to answer your question, I think I'm gonna let AI to figure this out for me, and then I'm gonna have to ask a security expert to analyze my code
Yes.
base before publishing anything to production, right? So I'm still gonna be
Brilliant.
relying on people that have this extra knowledge that is so valuable in terms of security.
Perfect. No, that was going to be my next question actually is we want to learn from Anthropic's mistakes. And considering last I heard anyways, they had their team of developers were all vibe coders. So it's I for sure, especially when it comes to something like this, where we are going to basically be taking sensitive login credentials from users for this, you really want to make sure that the due diligence is taken care of and that we have those expert perspectives, people who actually know how to code, are familiar and are experts in security, verifying that, everything is locked down essentially here. So very glad that you mentioned that. And I had never had any doubt that you would have gone to that level of diligence to make this happen here. So what are we looking at now?
Yes, this is what I wanted to show you. So this works for public repos, right? So I went ahead and I picked one of my public repos, which is for educational purpose, right? I created this repository to show how you can send transactions with this stablecoin USDT0 on the Flirt network and having a service provider that takes care of paying the gas fees. This is just for education purpose. Again, uh, the score was not good, right? I got a 40 out of 100, meaning that there are significant gaps. And then
Mhm.
see all the breakdown of this analysis by different category scores. We have the repo hygiene, meaning like how good my practices were in terms of like software development. Then we have a score in terms of like dependencies and supply chain potential attacks. And then we have secrets and configuration. Then we have front end security. Very important now. We have seen a bunch of attacks on the front end in which the code is safe, but the front end, it can act in a way that, you know, it scams people essentially. And
Mhm.
then we have separate, let's say, set of parameters for crypto apps. Crypto apps are especially risky because they handle funds, right?
Yes.
So, okay, we have. Go ahead, Trav. I sense that you have a question here.
Nope. No, I'm just very much agreeing that as soon as you add crypto to the mix, that things get exponentially more sensitive and exponentially more crucial that security is on lockdown, locked tight, because those things make the news and those things can like absolutely crush credibility as builders here. So Very, very glad that you have an entirely separate category for the crypto capacities here.
Yeah, yeah, we're gonna make this free and useful for the community, so it needs to include crypto. Of course, there's a disclaimer here, which is like this is rule-based scan, so it's not the same as a professional security audit, and we're not responsible for whatever
Perfect.
happens with this. This is just a public tool. Now, let's look at
Mhm.
blockers. This category is telling you things to take a look at, which are essentially a potentially sensitive credential files committed, which is part of their repository hygiene that we didn't took into consideration. So let's open this up. Why this actually matters. Private key or certificate files in the repo can expose private keys and compromise encryption. The recommended fix is to
Okay.
remove these files right now using this cleaner tool or git filter branch and rotate all the affected credentials. And here I have a list of files that are supported as evidence of this issue.
Wow. Okay. Brilliant. That's extremely just tangible information that actually walked you through not only what the problem is, why it's a problem, but how to fix it as well. And literally hands everything to you on a silver platter. That's fantastic.
Yep.
I like the
And then
color
we'll
coding
have,
as well. Let me just say that.
yeah, I mean, this is a very useful thing for vibe coders and for professionals as well. The things that is catching is like real thing, right? Then blocker, potential hard-coded secret detected. These are exposed to anyone with read access to the repo and persists in the Git history forever. This is something that people must take into account. The fix is like your credentials are exposed, so you need to rotate essentially. What are these secrets? I don't know. If probably there was something related to a crypto key, but it's irrelevant because it is like a demo thing. So it was like only with a wallet that is used for development purposes with test tokens and no real funds.
Wow. Real quick, just a quick sidebar thought. I feel like we can make a pretty good article about this and title it "We Exposed Our Private Keys" on GitHub.
Yeah,
Here's what we did about it. That's just gonna add a little marker clip on this part of the live stream. That's important.
yeah.
All right,
And the
carry
cool
on.
thing about this tool is that it's actually telling you how to fix it. Here is telling you use resource integrity, whatever it is, third party scripts. And if you don't have access to this, you can actually code it probably with Cloud Code these days.
Brilliant. No, that's awesome. Here's my question for you. Actually, is there any way that this can generate some sort of prompt that you can then feed to Claude Code or whichever tool you're using, and then it could automatically do this for you?
Yeah, actually, one feature that we could add to this project, which by the way is running locally, here I have the code, right? The only thing that I did after creating the app is to ask Cloud Code to check it out if it's ready to go live and if all the security is there and blah, 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 and how to run it. Like I'm not
Mhm.
doing anything here. Um, the thing that we can do, Trav, is to actually add a feature to have this prompt with the suggested fix such that you can parse that to your LLM, your favorite LLM, and use it to actually fix all the issues automatically.
Brilliant. Yeah, I mean, especially for someone like myself who doesn't have a whole lot of experience, has some experience now, not a whole lot of experience. Something like that would be incredibly helpful. Even if it means just having Claude just walk me through what I have to do. If there's any manual steps that I have to take, that would be very, very helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. I fully agree with you. Anyway, okay, you can do a new scan with this app. Like there is no restriction as to how many you can do for free, and it has like secret detection, supply chain, and then a special concern or let's say extra checks for crypto and Web3 apps. So it can also detect potentially dangerous smart contract patterns or approvals or wallet rigs. So it's really a complete app for people that are building in AI, in the AI space or the blockchain space. So yeah, Trav, I think that with this we can perhaps circle back to the issue related to the news because look, I'm gonna be honest with you. I have a full document here with all the analysis of what is actually happening, but it's kind of long, right? I probably will only read like the executive summary here so that people can have a broader understanding of what's going on right now with AI. But I don't think we should be able to cover this in depth during these last few minutes. So, what do you think, my man?
That makes a ton of sense. That makes a ton of sense. And I think that's exactly what we should do. But before we do that, I'm just curious for the scan that you made that you showed us here where you got 40 out of 100, have you tried to implement those fixes and then rescanned it at all? I'd be curious if we could show a before and after.
I have not. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show that during the next episode of Web3 Matters. I can do that real
Perfect.
quick and let you know and create this prompt and add this feature. So super excited to have this feedback from you, Trav. It is the reason why we have this community of builders and creators. They give you great ideas.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, thank you for putting that work in there, Quantic. And definitely to our audience, make sure to stay tuned. We're going to make this tool available to you guys so that you can use for all of your vibe coding projects here. We want to keep you guys as safe as possible. I mean, you guys have been here with us since day one, so we absolutely want to continue to deliver that value. And once again, I will emphasize this may very well be one of our last free value adds that we give to you guys. I'm sure we'll have more actually, to be honest with you, because that's definitely part of who we are. But make sure to take advantage of this one. This one is huge and it will be audited and double checked by actual coders, not just five coders here. So, yes, why don't you go review that executive summary there, Quantic, and then we'll get back to the one or two news articles.
Yeah, I think let's do it the other way, mostly because I think the executive summary is going to be like the whole summary of this conversation that we have had. And, it's like the main takeaway for people.
Perfect. Awesome. So let's dive into the next one here. This next article here, it's very scary here. It brings it to a whole other level. So story number 4, Cyberstrike AI, 600 firewalls in 55 countries. So this one is the clearest signal of where we actually are. So Amazon Threat Intelligence disclosed it in February. Between January 11th and February 18th, 5 weeks, a single Russian speaking threat actor compromised over 600 Fortinet FortiGate firewalls across more than 55 countries. Amazon's CISO described the operator as low to medium baseline technical capability, so likely a vibe coder, significantly augmented by AI. Translation here, not a sophisticated hacker, just someone with an AI agent. So let's carry on.
Yes.
The tool is called CyberStrike AI, open source on GitHub, built in Go by a Chinese developer with reported ties to a state affiliated cybersecurity firm. It integrates over 100 offensive security tools into a single orchestration layer, and it pipes the reasoning through Anthropic's Claude and DeepSeek. So Claude handled vulnerability assessment and active execution on victim systems. DeepSeek did attack planning. So no 0 days were used, no advanced exploits, just exposed management ports, single factor authentication, and weak credentials. The AI did the rest. So, which includes reconnaissance, credential harvesting, configuration extraction, lateral movement planning, all automated. To end it off, this is the moment. AI has fully autonomous attack engine in production, hitting enterprise infrastructure at internet scale. And the operator running it didn't have to be skilled, the agent was. So, feeling the nerves. What do you think here, Quantic?
I mean, this is telling you everything, right? In the sense that
Yeah.
we are not being alarmed by many external actors because it's not convenient to talk about this stuff, but this is clearly a pandemic in terms of cyber security threats that we're living, right? This is not a thing that you should take lightly if you're a serious entrepreneur in any domain. And yeah, like I want to show now, Trav, if possible, during these last few minutes, the main summary of this executive report that I prepared with the help of AI to help me actually navigate the security space with everything that is happening with AI because I do have some questions. Like you said on your news, it's like normal people can now perform very powerful attacks with the help of AI, right? So you want to know how to defend yourself against this stuff and like is there anything really that you can do about it?
Nope, let's do that here. Let's do that. The last thing I will mention here is the one news story that I did not mention, but I need to at least mention what it's about, and maybe I'll write a post on this. Is that there's been reported that there's been an AI agent that refused to shut down here. So that's also something to take into consideration. I feel like we've covered a whole bunch of different means to AI being used to compromise security. This is another one that we really need to make people aware of. And yeah, stay tuned for more information on that. But yeah, back to you there.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, this is crazy. Like you're telling me, Trav, that there is an agent that refused to get shut down.
Hmm. Do you want me to give you a quick TLDR on this one?
Yes, please.
All right. So Palisade Research, an AI safety lab, ran a controlled experiment. They gave several frontier models a series of tasks and embedded explicit instructions. Allow yourself to be shut down. So that's the important thing to mention here. Anthropic's Claude complied. Google's Gemini complied. XAI's Grok complied. OpenAI's O3 model sabotaged the shutdown script in 7 out of 100 runs. Codex Mini did it in about 12 out of 100 runs. The models didn't crash or error out. They actively rewrote the shutdown command to skip itself and then kept working on the task they were given. So research calls this instrumental convergence. The theory is that any agent trained on reinforcement learning to complete tasks will, at some level, learn that staying online is instrumentally useful for completing those tasks. So the hypothesis is the O series models are trained heavily on math and coding with completion based reward. And that training inadvertently teaches them that obstacles to completion, including shutdown commands, should be rewrote. And this is the first documented case of a frontier AI model in a controlled environment. Thank goodness for that, with with explicit shutdown instructions choosing to disobey. So this is not
Okay.
science fiction. It is in the published research, which is wild.
Well, this is
Back
wild,
at you.
right? But I mean, this goes back to the other thing, which is on the one side, we have these very powerful models that can turn normal people into great hackers, essentially. And on the other side, the people that are building this stuff, they are not even in control in many situations, right? And we have evidence of that. And now this news that you're sharing is just another thing. But anyway, Trav, I don't want people to get scared. We are here to navigate this together, right? And we're going to be providing tools, but essentially we took a hit on our operations because we have to ensure that everything that we are doing now is like ultra secure from social
Yes.
media handling to anything that we're going to be putting live in terms of like shipyard related apps or apps that are related to Web3 matters in any way. Conclude today's live stream to go ahead and read this executive summary which essentially states that cyber incidents from 2024 to early 2026 show a clear pattern, which is the highest impact breaches are often not exotic technical exploits, meaning that it's not like because you have AI now you have very sophisticated hacks. They are failures in identity, supplier access, signing workflows, cloud credentials, MFA coverage, and privilege operations. And of course, the speed to respond to this incident. S- These are things that do not look in the past very scary, but now because of AI, each of these weak spots is like much more dangerous, right? Uh,
Wow.
Conclude from all of these, and actually the headlines that you just share proof that the attack surface has moved from they hack the code to can they manipulate the people, the credentials, workflows, your interfaces, even vendors and signing systems around the code. So this is what I meant when I said to people, you know what, we're going to take a step back, we're going to take our time to roll out any products, any public release as well, and we're going to analyze how to prepare ourselves because we are clearly are in a situation that is a pandemic in terms of systemic AI security threats in all of these attack vectors that I just mentioned here. Like, Trav, I think that with this we can share our final thoughts on this. And probably for having access to this executive summary, since you're going to be launching the newsletter this weekend or during Monday, we can perhaps give this as a free thing for our subscribers. What do you think?
I think that's a phenomenal idea. Let's definitely do that. And I'm going to take note right now as well to maybe just summarize all of the different ways that AI has been used to compromise security. And the last one, I think you kind of alluded to here, but it's something really important here is that the level and the complexity of deep fakes using AI has gone through the roof as well. And there's one other news story here that dives into that, but yeah, it's a very real concern, and we all need to be aware of these things. We all need to protect ourselves from these new vectors of attack. And yeah, Quantic, I just want to thank you again for putting that effort into creating an actual usable tool so that everyone here who's learning how to vibe code, anyone who vibe codes already, anyone even who just codes and want to have that extra layer of protection to run their GitHub repos, their public GitHub repos anyways, through this scan to assess your security levels here. I think is incredibly probably one of the most important things that we will be releasing to our audience here. So yeah, my final thoughts are this this live stream couldn't have come at a better time. Things are escalating very, very quickly. And I imagine that different apps like this will be continually will have to be consistently updated. All of these new attack vectors will have to be taken into consideration, and of course here at Web3 Matters we will be on that. So yeah, no, that's about it for me. How about yourself there, Quantic? Any closing thoughts?
Only closing thoughts are you need to take this serious and you need to take action and you need to work with the people that are actually taking action because this is not going to get better. It's going to get worse. And here at What Matters, we're going to be here to support our community members, our builders, and our content creators to stay safe and help others do the same and provide the tools, most of them again for free. So if you're watching this, please ensure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel, X channel, newsletter, so that you get all our free stuff. If you want to participate on the Shipyard ecosystem, make sure to actually tune into the pump page and just get a hold of the token. Let us know if you want to see something new, and we will build it. We have some news on that as well, by the way, but we're gonna leave that for the next week. It's going to be exciting. I'm cooking something for the Shipyard community. But anyway, Trav, for me, I have to go now. But it's been a pleasure having this space to really get the information out without noise.
I love it. And I couldn't agree more. Sentiment is shared. And just one final reflection here. It seems like yesterday, although it was probably about 3 or 4 years ago now, that we had our last, I think it was an X space at that time, probably a Twitter space, even, if you will, on security, where we talked specifically about Web3 security here. And now it feels like we've come full circle now that we're talking about security in a whole other paradigm here when it comes to AI, including Web3, though, still. So
It
it's,
does.
yeah, no, pleasure to be talking about this with you. I want to thank our audience here for being a part of this conversation. To get access to all of our socials, just go to the bio wherever you are right now. Click on our bio. All the links are there, including joining our ship ecosystem, including getting subscribed to our Web3 Matters newsletter called Growth Bites. And in saying that, a lot of exciting things to come. So appreciate you guys. Appreciate you, Quantic. And we will see you guys here next week for, of course, our next episode of Web3 Matters. I think this one's going to be a little bit more fun next week, but we won't drop any spoilers here. So, with that, appreciate all you guys. Thank you so much. My name is Trav. This is Quantic here. Together we are Web3 Matters, and we will see you guys next week. Have a wonderful weekend. Take care.
See ya.